I'm Don Downs. This is Kit Cassingham. Kit, you want to tell a little about you and your business?
Sure. I'm a longevity coach. And I'll also say I live in Southwest Colorado, where I took a brisk walk this morning. It was 19 degrees, but the wind chill probably is closer to zero. But longevity coach is designed to help people with their mindset on living longer, healthier lives. We're all living longer anyway. So it's my goal to help people live more vibrant, free lives with a lot of good health. So that's what I do.
Very good. And I'm Don Downs. My business is called RV Business Coach. And I typically work with mid to late career professionals who are wanting to escape the corporate rat race. And because of my love of RVing, often target people who want to quit their job and RV full-time long before retirement. And we can come back and talk about some of the mindsets around that. So kind of at its core, small business coach, specializing in startup businesses, but keeping from a marketing angle, focusing on particularly people who want a traveling lifestyle. Today's session is on mindset. And I like to joke that mindset is like the weather. People like to talk about it, but nobody ever does anything about it. So today we'll do a little talking about it and talk a little bit about what we can do about it and how we can adjust our mindset. And our mindset affects how we see the world. It affects how we respond to challenges, how we respond to opportunities, what we attempt, how we attempt it, and what we succeed at. So what is a mindset? Best definition I've come up with is it's essentially beliefs. You have any other thoughts on that, Kit?
When I've looked it up, Don, I've seen a whole collection of words. And to me, it boils down to beliefs. There are different flavors of mindset, but the definition essentially is beliefs.
Beliefs, yeah. And a lot of it, like we said, is how you approach things. Your beliefs affect how you approach things, and then how you approach things affects the outcome.
Yeah.
So, a lot of, I guess, mindset is related to, we often have voices in our head that tell us stories. You're no good at this. You're no good at this. You're fat and ugly. Whatever. Interestingly, those voices tend to skew negative unless we take action to skew them positive. So it's good to be aware of those voices and, take action to try to.
I never thought about stories as being part of mindset. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think it is, because I think those stories affect our mindset anyway, right? If
Right.
your voice in your head is always telling you, you're no good, you're not a good writer, you can't write. Well, then you're going to develop a mindset of not being able to write, and then you're not going to be able to write. Not that I know anything about that example.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. I guess that's what's going on. I remember a few weeks ago announcing to my mastermind clients that I was looking into longevity, and they were reacted with, "Why would you want to do that? You can't do that. It's genetically determined." And I thought, I was left speechless. Well, people do affect their longevity. They can drink themselves to death sooner than if they hadn't been doing the intense drinking, or they can turn to a healthy diet and live longer, more healthfully. But it can't be done, or I can't do it. I guess it comes from beliefs. We hear our science teacher saying, people live to be 85, and that's all there is to it. Or any number of things. I can drink and drive and get away with it. There's a belief system mindset.
There's a scary one.
Yeah. So
yeah.
In my go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, in my research, initially I came up and heard about an open and closed mindset. An open mindset are the people who are open to new ideas and new possibilities. open to what they can do in life, or hey, what you can do in life, or closed mindset of nope, can't be done. And then I saw further discussion of growth and finite mindset, where finite is things are set, they're limited, and growth is sky's the limit. I heard Simon Sinek talking, I think with Brene Brown, about the infinite game and the finite game, which I am taking as other forms of mindset, though they're more specifically, at least in their conversation, geared towards games. Football, tennis, baseball, they kick the can. They all have distinct rules. You know who the players are. You know what's expected of you. And some people are real comfortable with that. And then there are people like me who go, oh, now that I know the rules, I know what to break. Corey knows nothing about that. Then the infinite game is you may or may not know the players. Oh, and with the finite game, there's a definite beginning and an ongoing, evolving thing. And the players change. It's like Calvin Ball, the rules can change. And some people are comfortable with that and some aren't. So I'm aligning growth, open, and infinite mindsets as being on one side, and closed, fixed, and finite being on the other side. So I'd be curious to hear what you guys have to say about that when we come to talking about it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it, and I think it makes sense. You know, we have those kinds of mindsets. Your infinite mindset reminded me of the bridge game we had my freshman year in college. That it was a continuous bridge game. People would come and go. You know, you'd come and sit at the table and play for an hour, and then someone else would come in and you'd give them the cards and leave. And it was so funny because one day that you're playing against the person who was your partner the day before, but it's just pressure relief during finals. And but it was funny. It was just like constant game, but there was no beginning, no end, players coming and going. And I guess we weren't keeping score because it was meaningless when you keep coming and going like that. So that was definitely an infinite game, I think.
Well, it amuses me that you bring that up. Randy's teaching me how to play cribbage. I call it scribbage. There's my first broken rule. And I know that when you peg out, game's over. And I'm saying, why don't we come around to the beginning and do it, keep just doing it, or turn around and go the other way? He goes, because that's not how it's done. I go, but wouldn't it be fun to do that sometime? It could go on and on like your bridge game. So I haven't convinced him. I think I'll start playing that way though. See if I can drive him.
Different set of rules.
I mean, it's just us. I mean, it's not like anybody else can see it.
Right.
And if they did,
and that's interesting because in a cribbage game, if you're playing other people, you're kind of expected to play the standard rules. But it's running through my head that in life, that's not necessarily true. We're given a set of rules.
And we're expected to play them.
And some of those rules need to be followed, but some of those rules need to be broken. So, one thing I think about is, talking about rules that need to be broken, go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but it seems to me like when we are first born, we're exploratory. You think about a toddler learning to walk, and he gets up and he takes a step and he falls down and he immediately gets back up and tries another one. And, it doesn't bother him that he fell down. He doesn't look around to see who saw him and be embarrassed about it.
Or gloat.
Yeah. It seems like, about the time we get to kindergarten, we start being trained to avoid failure. And so we go through the rest of our academic career and most of our corporate career avoiding failure, which in turn limits how much we can learn, because there's a lot to be learned by trying out different things, and I guess that relates back to the infinite mindset of being open to, hey, this is the way it's always been done, but what if?
Well, and that's curiosity. Curiosity leads that exploration and that openness of what if. Like, what if Corey weren't here and I hadn't been teasing about the Cheshire Cat? It would have been a different call.
Mm-hmm. So talking a little bit about your longevity coaching, and you mentioned mindset has a lot to play with it. Do you want to expand on that a little?
You bet. And I'll start with saying sharing that there is a saying I've heard for years. It's attributed to any number of people, probably back to Aristotle, wink, wink. Henry Ford gets credit for it, but so does Abraham Lincoln. If you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right.
Very true. In most cases.
Yeah, I mean, I know personally that when I'm a former computer programmer, and I've handed most of my computer stuff off to either one of my tech gurus. But when I bump into something, I go, oh, I should be able to fix this. But then I get all freaked out and in a dither and going, I'm going to pass this off to my guys. And I go, no, stop, take a breath. You can do this. Most of the time I succeed, and sometimes it exceeds my knowledge base. But then I can turn to my gurus and say, here's what I've done. What did I miss? What don't I know? And it gets fixed. So the same is true with longevity, that you can decide that the age you've been expecting to live to is all there is, and set your finances and your health and everything else to fall off the face of the earth at that magic number. Or you could say, if I'm going to live longer, how can I do it? What can I change? And even with that attitude, because I think we pop in and out of open and closed mindset. So even with the saying, okay, let me try this. Well, if you do this, oh no, like for today, I did a sauna this morning and then stepped into a cold shower. And a cold shower here is 40 degrees. That's cold, even after you've baked your brains out in the sauna. And I say to people, do this, and they go, oh, I could never take a cold shower. Why not? Well, because it's cold. Yeah, what will happen if you step into the cold water? I doubt you'll die, as long as you don't have a heart condition. I mean, I
meant to respond to you saying the temperature in Colorado, because here in North Carolina, it's really cold today. It is 52 degrees. So, I didn't want to go out and walk at lunch because it was too cold.
Well,
and that is one of my mindsets. I'll freely admit I'm the world's biggest cold weather wimp. But I ran across a mindset the other day that really got me to thinking. Norwegians say there's no such thing as bad weather. There's only bad clothes.
Yes. And I was wearing good clothes. I had my wool mittens that wrapped back, and I gloves on, and then the fingerless mittens. I had a nice mohair coat on, my flannel vest, a nice pashmina shawl, my hat. I was fine. My fingers got cold. But I walked anyway, and I have played that trick of, oh, it's too cold. Oh, it's snowing. I couldn't go out in the snow. And I decided a few days ago, no, you're going. Doesn't have to be long, because that morning, and this is part of the longevity action you take, that morning light works on your brain to wake it up and get your biorhythm clock going, which means tonight I'll probably sleep better. And hormesis is I don't know if it's a science or just a reality, but hormesis is stressing something in your body so that when you relax it, it grows stronger. Muscle, people who lift weights and bodybuilders, they are using hormesis. Lift too much weight and then take a break. Their muscles get all ripped up, and then they come back, and the muscles are stronger when they come back a day or two later. So hot and cold. Well, my morning walk today was cold.
Very cold.
My sauna was hot and cold. And this isn't about mindset, except we've gotten soft. We don't like to be uncomfortable. And that's a mindset that I want to break. Try to lose weight or to make your body stronger to live longer. Shorten your eating window. Instead of eating throughout the day they say, have a snack every hour or 2 hours. No, try doing 2 meals a day or 1 meal a day. reduce the number of calories and the frequency. Yesterday, because I gave blood, I didn't have my first meal till 2:15 in the afternoon.
Mm.
But that hunger is a hormetic response. When you are walking and you walk real fast, you get your lungs stressed and you're breathing fast. That's a hormetic action. And to balance it sometime, practice holding your breath. How long can you hold it? Hold it as long as you can and then a little longer. And then the next time you come back, you'll be able to hold it longer. I know people who can hold their breath. I know of people who can hold their breath for 5 minutes.
Wow, that's a long run.
I made 2 minutes once. So those are the kinds of mindsets I'm working with my clients on, as well as you can live longer. So,
And you mentioned at the beginning, a lot of times when you mention you are a longevity coach, you run into a closed mindset that says, why? You know, I'm going to live and I don't have any control over it. But you're saying you do have control over it, but it requires a mindset shift to embrace it and take steps.
To eat well, sleep well, move well. Yeah. Part of that mindset comes from they think that old means decrepit, frail. And it only means that if you haven't taken care of yourself. If you do take care of yourself, then you won't get frail and decrepit, at least not as soon. I mean, the extra 30 years we have isn't tacked onto the end. You're not going to be decrepit and frail for an extra 30 years. It's tucked into the middle, like where you and I are now, Dawn. If you feel, can you imagine your level of mental ability, physical ability when you're 90 or 100? If you could be as healthy and vibrant at 100 as you are now, would you be interested?
Oh yeah, that would be great.
So, and another thing people react to is, why would you want to live longer? It's like, well, my reaction is because there's so much to do. People I don't know, places I haven't gone, things I haven't done.
Yep, things to explore, places to explore.
Yeah, there's not. I don't have time to die till I'm at least 150. Yeah. But see, that's my mindset. And when people say,
I've always said, oh, go ahead.
Well, when people say to me, well, you're a senior and you've got to get your flu vaccine, and you're a senior and you can get a discount, I'll take the discounts. But I really rebel at being called a senior. I'm not a senior. I'm not old. All right, so maybe I'm a senior, but I'm not old.
Right. So I got the senior discount at the grocery store the other day, and it quite shocked me to think in terms of I could do that. They have a pretty low age threshold, but yeah, you talk about the not being frail. I've always said I want to live until I'm not living.
Yeah, wake up dead.
Once you reach that phase where you're frail and you're just existing but not living, not too interested in that. But boy, I'd sure like to live. Stretch it out. What's that joke about the woman coming in a car and skidding to a halt and jumping out and saying, like, that's how you're supposed to live life, is life is like that. You just totally embrace it right up to the very end, and then
no more. I don't know it, but when you figure out the whole joke, let me know, because I like that. Okay. I think Betty White lived that kind of life. She just forgot to wake up one day. And David Sinclair, who researches longevity and anti-aging too, actually, said recently, and it took me a moment to get it all translated. He said, the longer you live, the faster you die, which really goes into, we have a shorter, frail, decrepit time period. I call it sliding into home plate. I'm just going to give it my all and come sliding into home plate, and it's done. That's my theory.
Yeah, I like that theory.
Yeah,
I like that theory.
So how does mindset affect RVing, your RVing coach clients?
One of the first mindsets I run into a lot is people saying, I'm going to RV full time when I retire. And just, I point out, you don't have to wait till you retire. There's ways you can generate income on the road, and you can get this started earlier, and the earlier the better, because you don't want to get to the point where you're frail and can't do it. But that's, and some people are aware of that. Some people widely embrace it, and others just really can't ever get past, I have to be retired before I can RV. So that's one place. Another thing, just like everything else in life, I think your mindset permeates everything you do. So, a lot of the full timers usually aren't, it's not like camping where you're on the go all the time. You'll go somewhere and stay for weeks or months before you make the next move. And a lot of them talk about how they hate moving day. And it is a lot of work, because you get, if your RV is your house, you probably set up some decorations and stuff, and all those got to come down and be put away, because when you move the RV, it's like taking your house through an earthquake every day. So I once made the mistake. I was moving 2 campsites over. Just around the corner was a much nicer campsite than the one I was in. The person there vacated. I got permission to move over. And so just going 2 spots, I didn't bother to pack everything up, and everything fell off the counters and into the floor. And it was, just that little bitty distance. So you really have to do it. But
aren't you
so my
glad
point on that is that, what's that?
The floor was there to catch everything, at least.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. But that I was just kind of thinking about the mindset of that, oh, I hate moving day. I dread moving day. I don't want to do moving day. Build you up to the point where you're going to hate moving day. But if you could approach it with the excitement of, okay, time for the next adventure, time to see what's next down the road, moving day might even be fun. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it might be fun because you've got the anticipation of what's right around the corner.
As I stepped into my cold shower this morning, I didn't let myself go, oh God, I hate this. I just stepped in and shivered for a second, and it wasn't as bad as yesterday, or the shower. I do the sauna every other day. So 2 days ago, the shower was really miserably cold, and it probably was just as cold today, but I wasn't as miserable about it.
Mm-hmm. Because you were, well, one, you've been through it, and that helped you embrace it a little better.
Well, I'd been through it many times. I do it every other day, but I didn't set myself up for misery by saying, God, I hate this.
Right.
That was a mindset I decided to avoid. And I didn't intentionally do it because we were talking mindset today. I was talking to my coach yesterday, and I told him what I did, and he and I looked at each other, and I go, I know, I shouldn't do that. I'll be better off if I don't. So my conversation yesterday got me set up to be better prepared for a more enjoyable cold shower.
There you go. Yeah,
what else?
Another place I see mindset affecting my clients is, because we're starting up a new business, and mindset makes or breaks the business probably more than anything else. Business can be a lot of fun, but there's a lot of challenges, and how you approach those makes a world of difference. If you can approach it with a sense of curiosity and a sense of, exploration. So the best I've seen, one time I walked out, my son was in the hospital, and I came out, and there was a Jeep parked in the parking lot. And on the spare tire cover of the Jeep, it said, hang on a minute, I want to try something. I thought that's really a great metaphor for how we can approach a lot of this stuff. Hang on, let me try something. It may work, it may not. If it doesn't, I'll change, right?
Isn't that like hold my beer?
Kind of, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if hold my beer or let me try something is a good metaphor for mindsets or not. But
generally not.
I do see in a lot of people, me included, there's sometimes a resistance to change and a resistance to failure. And so when you get into that, having a mindset of open-minded and embracing it, seeing it as an opportunity, not a challenge, can make a world of difference in how you respond, instead of just sulking into the corner and being upset because, I sent out my newsletter and my open rate was 10% and nobody clicked through and bought anything. So my business is horrible and it's going to fail.
Don't talk about me in public. Yeah, it's real. It's so what you perceive as your reality can then turn and affect your mindset, which then does affect your reality.
Yeah, when I was getting my MBA, one of my marketing professors kept saying, perception is reality. And he meant it in terms of how your customers perceive you is how you are, even if that's not how you intend to be or how you think you are. That's really who they're seeing you as, and therefore it's really, that's it. But I think that applies in other ways as well.
Yeah.
How we perceive things, as you were saying, perceiving your sauna. This morning you perceived it as, I get to do the sauna. Previous days you've said, oh, it's cold.
Yeah, the sun is the hot part. The cold shower.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the cold shower after the sauna.
Well, but yeah, I'm a whopping 5'2". I do not see myself as short. And I hear, I was listening to a woman on a podcast yesterday, and she goes, I'm really short. I'm 5'4". And I go, it's 2 inches taller than me. That's not very short. So it's mindset. Right. Well, and in fact, yeah. Randy's over a foot taller than I am. And I mean, I knew he was taller than I was. I have to bend back to kiss him. But it wasn't until we were at my folks' house, as we were early dating, and somebody took a picture of us, and I saw the contrast. I go, whoa, he's tall, really tall. And I keep that picture out as a reminder. There is a slight difference in our height.
Yeah, and that's a great example. My wife is 5'4", and I used to be 6'1". I think I might be closer to 6 now, but so significant difference. But like you said, she doesn't see herself as short, doesn't perceive herself as short, and doesn't come across as short.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting. Those I think are all great examples of mindset. One that I work with is, I alluded to it at the beginning of the conversation, is writing. I am still developing a positive mindset about writing, because my mindset's always been, I'm an engineer, therefore I don't write, or I don't write good.
I do numbers.
Yeah, give me math all day long, I'm happy. Don't make me write. And the flip side to that is, I'm a business owner, therefore I am a writer. It's really hard to be a business owner and not do a lot of writing. So for me, there's that constant development of embracing writing and doing it more, and backsliding some and then crawling back up, because as much as we would like, it doesn't change overnight.
And it's interesting, you and Randy are flip side of the same coin. He's a writer, and you can hand him some words and he'll go, and they flow and they're brilliant and sound good. But he will say, I'm not good at numbers. But when we're playing cribbage, I mean, you're adding numbers up to 15 or actually up to 31, but he adds those numbers in a snap. So I tease him about that. I go, too bad you're not good at numbers. You would have never caught on that I tried to cheat just now.
Right. Yes. So that is an interesting mindset, and interesting. It doesn't seem like it negatively impacts him too much. He says, I don't like numbers. I'm not good at math, yet he still, at least for cribbage, adds numbers very quickly and accurately.
Yes. And accurately. I add numbers quickly too, which is not, I have what I call creative math. 2 + 2 + 2 is 8. Thinking I can peg that far. So
there you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about mindsets. We probably should spend a little bit of time talking about how do we improve a mindset. We've talked about open versus closed, and clearly the more you want to learn and grow, the more open you need to be. If whether you believe you can or can't, you're right, then believing you can is going to move you further. So
how can we change our mindset from where it?
Yeah, how can we change our mindset to more what we want to be? And maybe there's a mindset about what do you want to be?
Well, there is. Yeah. Yeah. What ideas do you have?
I think the first step is just growing aware of it, recognizing those mindsets, which I do now when I sit down to write and I go, oh, I hate writing. I'm like, no.
There's that mindset.
No, you're a writer. You can do this. I had a while I was, every time I would start working in the kitchen, I would misplace stuff. And it was just extremely annoying. I'd get a knife out, put it on the counter, go do something else, come back. look at the counter and I couldn't find the knife, and I'd spend 5 minutes looking for it. And I started saying, man, I am losing my ever loving mind. And one day I said, that's not a good thing to be telling myself. I need to find something else to tell myself. So I started telling myself, you can do this, or you're smart enough to do this. And so it's like, well, where did I put it? I don't know, but I'm smart enough to figure out what I did with it. So, and it's helped a lot. I no longer think I'm going out of my mind all the time. So it's good in that respect.
All right. So awareness is real important to changing the mindset. The simplistic answer is it's easier said than done, but decide to change your mindset. Like when you sit to write and you go, oh, I'm a lousy writer. That response is you deciding to change your mindset about it.
Right.
So bravo.
So, if you recognize it, then it's easier to consciously make the change to it. That's not a mindset I want to embrace. I'm going to come up with a new one
So can we have a mindset about our mindset of, I don't want to be different? Is that a mindset, you think?
I would think so.
And I guess if you don't want to be different, then you won't change your mindset.
Right.
But
I think that would be the case.
If it becomes imperative that you have to, all right, we're going to make up a story. I like sugar. And I'm going to keep eating sugar, even though I keep hearing that it's bad for me. My mindset is, well, I'm going to eat it anyway. It's fine. And then the doctor says, if you don't quit eating sugar, you're going to get diabetes. Is that enough of a possibility that could be scary and uncomfortable to make me give up at least most of my sugar? For me, it is, or would be, but not for everybody.
For a lot of people, not.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was a cardiologist, and he said it was just amazing that, people would come see him because they'd had a heart attack. They do what they can, and then it's like, well, if you want to prevent this from happening again, you need to make these lifestyle changes. And, 6 months later, they're back with the same problems, and they've made no attempt to make any kind of changes. So
I know people on their deathbed with lung cancer who are smoking.
Yeah, asking for a cigarette. Yeah.
No, I mean smoking.
Oh, still smoking. Okay.
Yeah, they're not asking, they're doing. So there's an example of mindset not changed, but
not going to change, right?
But you were talking about stories. So maybe if you changed your story, or I call it changing the channel of where your story takes you, that could work at changing your mindset.
Definitely. And, that's what I've been working on, is when I catch a negative mindset, to find a story to flip it into a positive mindset. So going from I'm losing my ever loving mind to I'm smart enough to figure this out.
Kathy's just hiding the knife when you're not looking. That's
probably, yeah.
See, and you could change it to that story of, all right, where did Kathy hide it this time, and make it a game.
Yeah.
Another way, when I was telling you the story of my computer stuff, that I would take a deep breath. It's like, I can do this. Take the breath. That calms me down, calms the mind. And it's amazing what I can think of when I'm calm.
Mm-hmm. That step of taking a breath can be huge to just let the body relax, and then give you the space to decide how you're going to respond after that.
Yeah.
I find when I'm given a new problem, a lot of times there's this initial rush of panic. How am I going to do this? And then I find if I take a deep breath and step back, then, I can get through it. One of my college professors in network analysis, anytime you asked him a question, he would say, you only know 3 things. The 3 things being, if I can remember this, Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law, and Thevenin's equation. So you can solve any network analysis problem if you only know those 3 formulas, because everything else is derived from those 3. But he really made an impression on me, because to this day, when I get into something and I'm okay, you only know 3 things. And it's a signal to me to step back and go, you can do this. You're just going to have to take a minute and figure out how to do it.
And
So,
do those
you know,
three
that's,
things help you find the knife in the kitchen?
you know, the three things varies depending on the problem, but knowing that, okay, I can solve this, right? So there's no point panicking over it. I will find a solution. I will find the knife, or I'll find another knife. Still looking for the screwdriver I lost when I was putting the radio in a van one time.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, that one was weird. You know, I took something out, laid the screwdriver in the floorboard, did something else, reached for the screwdriver. It wasn't there. We never did find it. We traded that van 10 years ago and I still haven't found that screwdriver. So I don't know. I don't know what happened on that one, but
wild.
yeah, but at least, you know, at least I'm finding stuff in the kitchen again.
Yay. Well, why don't we open this up to the audience and see what kind of questions, ideas, answers they have about mindset? Who would like to chime in with a question, answer, bad joke?
Well, I had a thought just based on, actually I had two thoughts based on things we were talking about. One was actually related to what you asked me to take notes on. We were talking about finite versus infinite mindsets and, you know, the different situations in which they manifest themselves or seem most appropriate. And like, I guess what I was thinking, and I guess I wanted to hear your thoughts on it, was it seems that you kind of need to have, you need to have a combination of those two types of mindsets working in tandem with one another as you go through life. Because, you know, the way that I think about it based on your description is we have a finite mindset. Like you said, those are, you know, start date, finish date, specific goals, specific players, all that kind of stuff. And to me, that sounds like a goal. Where if you're going to be productive and ensure that you're reaching these milestones, you need to have, in that respect, a finite mindset to accomplish what it is that you want. But then that finite mindset needs to be nested in your infinite mindset, where that's like your perspective on life, I guess. You know, I know that this is where I want to be eventually. You know, I want to do that while I'm enjoying my life, doing all these different things, feeling fulfilled. And this piece of my mindset, this finite sub mindset, is a key stepping stone to getting there.
Interesting.
I think that's a really great point.
Yeah.
And it reminds me that, you know, very few things in life are absolutes. So, you know, while we kind of long for that more open mindset, the more infinite mindset, you have a great point that there are times and places where the more closed mindset is more appropriate. So being aware of both, being able to balance both I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's a really good perspective.
You know, let's see, and I want to explore that a bit. So you have a goal and you have, so here's where the infinite finite can really get in the conflict. If you have set real rigid steps to get to your goal, if something happens where you can't do one of those steps, are you forever stymied and stuck? Or do you click into your infinite game and go, all right, the rules just changed. I have to change my action. Goal doesn't have to change, but how I get there does.
Yeah, I mean, so like I hear that as being, that's like openness to me, right? So the ability to roll with the punches and adapt your more finite mindset, that's kind of that ability to change, right? That you were saying, you don't want to be averse to any change that's going to occur. But I think that while you shouldn't get stymied by obstacles, you know, learning to counter them and incorporate them into your plan is important. But if you use obstacles as a reason not to have a fixed mindset towards a goal, I don't know how you'll measure your progress towards that goal or ensure that you're progressing towards it at the rate that you want.
And there's a good point that you do need to measure what you want to change and improve, and you want to change and improve towards your goals. So you do need to have those steps. And I think you can have goals in the infinite mindset. And the infinite mindset is more of how readily you adapt to the changing scenery and stuff. So let's say the steps to your goal don't change, but the people involved do. That could upset some people. No, I had this set to, but these are the people involved in helping me take these steps to this goal. So there's a rigidness in Finite that probably isn't good for you.
You know, that makes me think, have you heard of Getting Things Done, or GTD, by David Allen? Very
No.
popular time management system. And I found that most people who think they're doing GTD aren't. Most people who think they're doing GTD are just doing list management, because this list management is very attractive. But there's two things I found really interesting about GTD. One is he says that the weekly review is the glue that holds it all together. And I think that's true, but a little off topic. What I was thinking of, the other was, I had trouble when I first started because I would do a project, and what I wanted to do was list out all of the steps to the project and then have some method so that every time I completed a step, the next step would automatically pop you up through the list. And there's software out there, there's tons of programs, people trying to develop all of that. And I came to realize that's not how the system works, you know. And he says, all you need is the next step. So when you complete a step on the project, you go, what's my next step? And that flexibility helps you because, you know, you figure it out as you go, and as obstacles come up, you go around them, rather than having that hard and fast, this is my path to the end. You know, just taking a step at a time opens you up a lot more to actually get there. The balancing act, though, is if there's a time deadline, you got to make sure you're making progress to that.
Yeah, the time deadline definitely impacts that. So good observation and challenge. Good way of augmenting the conversation.
Yeah.
Do you have, what's that?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if you had any other question, like how would you suggest changing a mindset if you see something that's not serving you, that for some reason you want to change or don't want to change?
Yes, that's a good question. It's related to my second question that I started thinking about while we were going through stuff. So it relates directly to how it is that you change your mindset. You know, and there's like a number of different things that we talked about. One thing that came into my mind that I don't know, I mean, if you said it, I missed it, was, you know, obviously your mindset is going to be directed by your perspective on things. But it's also going to depend a lot on how you are motivated to achieve whatever it is that you want. And that can be either by intrinsic or extrinsic factors, right? And so I think while it's going to vary based on goal and obviously based on person, finding out what it is that motivates you and how that shapes your perspective is going to play a big role in changing your mindset. You know, it's just like you were saying with like the sugar thing. It's like, okay, well, that's an extrinsic factor. Someone's telling me that I can't have sugar because it's going to give me diabetes or whatever. If that is not your motivator, it's not going to matter. So then what is it? If an extrinsic motivator isn't it, what do you need intrinsically to push you to change your mindset on that?
Or encourage you or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
And I know denial comes in a lot with what your mindset is. My mother was a sugarholic, and I would comment on it. She goes, I don't eat any sugar. Well, let's see. Let's review your breakfast, your lunch, all the pies and cookies and candy you eat in the afternoon, and the dessert you have after dinner. That's not much. So she was in denial about her sugar consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, denial, which is, where does denial fit into all this? Is that
there's a mindset around that, of the mindset of being open to reality. You know, she didn't want to know that she was over consuming sugar, so
right.
You know, closed off the tracking, the reality of it, and live in this other mindset of, I'm just going to do what I want and pretend it's okay.
So I guess with Corey's thinking, that reflects something in her intrinsic motivations that she was avoiding or denying, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and based on like how Don just said it, it sounds to me that denial necessitates awareness, right? So before you can be in denial of something, you have to be aware of it. Meaning, in this situation, she would have been aware that she was eating too much sugar or whatever, and then chose to not pay attention to it.
Justify
Right?
it.
Otherwise, it's just ignorance.
Right. Well, and I do know that some of hers was ignorance. I grew up hearing oatmeal is the best breakfast you can have. It sticks to your ribs. And I thought, I don't want that sticking to my ribs, but
I don't know what that means, but they used to advertise it sticks to your ribs.
yes, they did. And Lafayette, Colorado was the Quaker oat capital of the world. I don't know how that came to be, but what's nutritionists and scientists recognize now is that oats convert to sugar just like that. So they just a differently packaged form of sugar. So her oatmeal with her blueberries, more sugar, with her applesauce, more sugar, and her mocha drink, more sugar. But all but the mocha drink seemed healthy. The walnuts that she put on were healthy, but so that was out of ignorance and not totally her problem because she bought into the marketing. I mean, we all did.
Yeah. We have in America, tend to have very sugar-centric breakfast.
Sugar-centric life.
True. But especially, I think about growing up, there were all those advertisements for sugar cereals and
oh my God, Lucky Charms, Fruit Loops, Cocoa Puffs.
They make Lucky Charms. You can buy just the marshmallows now.
Oh yeah, and then there were grilled marshmallows, s'mores and stuff for dessert. All right, now I'm gonna bring in an element. I have just become aware of a friend whose mindset, I don't know if it's opened or closed, but in this one particular conversation, he starts with, all news is a lie. And then he takes his information from there. And I don't quite know what to do with that kind of approach. I'm taking it as a closed mindset. But
it really depends. I think for a lot of people, it is a closed mindset. And what they're really saying is, I've got my view of the world and I don't want it to be messed with. At the same time, I think recognizing your news sources and taking them all with a healthy dose of skepticism is not a bad thing either. To recognize personal biases are being brought in all over, intentionally or unintentionally.
right.
So being aware of that and, being open to checking multiple sources and trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah. And I think
to figure out.
skepticism is good. I mean, that's a form of curiosity, but closing the door to a whole range of information, well, it's just different. So I throw that out.
Sorry, Kate, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, I was just going to say, I view generally making sweeping statements as a characteristic of a closed mindset. A blanket statement inherently is closed.
Oh, good point. Whether it's a positive or negative approach.
Right.
All news is the truth.
Right.
Yeah. And when you get to that, then you get to the people who say the Bible tells the truth, but the Bible contradicts itself. How do you resolve that? So, yeah. Okay. So all sweeping statements. Yeah.
All sweeping statements reflect a closed mindset. How's that?
Oh, does that sound like a sweeping statement?
Except for that statement.
Right.
Point taken.
Never make definitive statements.
All right.
All right. Well, we have just under 10 minutes left. Any final thoughts, Kit, that you want to close out with?
The one that I will point out is that mindset varies. And I think Corey brought it up well, that you can have finite within an infinite, that you can be real open-minded about your breakfast, but there could be a closed-minded component to it. And you can hop in and out of closed and open-minded without them being nested. And so it takes staying alert, aware, intending whatever. I mean, maybe you want to live life with a closed mindset. Well, then you better stay alert and aware that you don't open the mindset, and vice versa.
Yep. Great thought. Corey, you have anything you want to share as we wrap up?
Not really. I mean, I think you guys addressed most of what I was pondering about while you guys were discussing, so I don't think I have anything else.
Don, how about
All right.
you?
So I think my final thoughts is going back to what you said at the very beginning, the Henry Ford attributed quote that whether you think you can or can't, you're right. And if you recognize that and recognize that that's your mindset driving outcomes. So, you know, again, being aware and catching yourself when you have a mindset that's not helping you and deciding to change it can be very helpful. Okay, well, I see we're almost out of time, so I guess that wraps it up for today. I'm really thankful that you came by. We really enjoyed discussing this topic with you and hope you'll be back next time. Once again, I'm Don Downs from RV Business Coach, where I help people create the life they love through creating their own business. I'd love to get to know you better. One thing I offer people is a virtual coffee. It's a chance to just sit down and discuss whatever. It could be a continuation of this discussion. It might be talking about entrepreneurship and whether that's a good fit for you, or maybe just, you know, want to learn a little better, more about each other and see if there's networking opportunities or whatever there. So you can do that. You can sign up for a virtual coffee with me at http://virtualcoffeewithdon.com. Again, that's http://virtualcoffeewithdon.com.
And I'm Kit Cassingham with Live in Focused Energy. I'm a longevity coach, and I especially focus on your mindset around your longevity, your health span, your vibrancy. And if you're interested in working with me to improve your mindset around your longevity, then you can go to my website, liveinfocusedenergy.com. Then with a /questionnaire, fill out the questionnaire that gives me a little bit of information about you before we have our conversation. liveinfocusedenergy.com/questionnaire. I hope you'll come back next month. We're going to talk about energy management. And it'll be another conversation like this with Don and me sharing our ideas and what we've picked up as we've gone through our coaching and learning and the things we do. And then we want your input too. So it'll be February 9th, the second Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll look forward to sharing and interacting. And that's it for now. Thanks for coming.
Look forward to seeing you next time.